Hi, everyone. Welcome to the syllabus introduction for the Church Fathers class for Theology in the Classical Era, Trinity, Christology, and Deification, Spring 22. I'm excited to be teaching this course. I'm excited that you all want to take it. This is a course that's bringing together some things that I've done, combining some things from other courses that I've done in the past, but I've never done it quite like this one. And part of the way that this one came together was as I was teaching courses in Christology in the Church Fathers and then Trinity in the Church Fathers, I started to realize you really need all this together, and you need to think about it in terms of human vocation, or what the sense of the sort of the purpose and the end, the eschatological end of a human life is, which is deification. So all of these theological loci come together, really. The way that we talk about who Jesus is in Gregory of Nyssa connects with who Gregory thinks the Trinity is, and what human life, how human life ends. So this was my chance to really put it all together and say, let's try to take this era as a whole and understand the big theological vision that's shaping these early centuries of the church. The course description says we're going to go all the way up to Thomas and Bonaventure. I was thinking about that, but I decided not to. What that was going to mean was we were going to do more, and it was going to be more of a survey course. I wanted to dig in a bit more. So we're going to do most of the main essential church fathers in the Greek and Latin traditions, and we're going to stop there. So we're not going to go all the way up to the Middle Ages and catch Thomas and Bonaventure and Anselm. We can read them another time. We're going to read the people who shaped them. So that'll be fun. Recall key ideas from some of the most important theologians of the tradition, analyze those ideas, putting them into conversation with contemporary patristic scholarship, connect key ideas from classical theological tradition to liturgy, communicate key ideas from the classical theological tradition to a non-specialist audience. You'll notice something odd about these learning objectives, and that is that they have and or after most of them. If you've taken an elective from me before, you've seen this pattern. If you took the one last semester, you've seen this pattern. What I've started doing is giving you options of assignments, and that means that those assignments coordinate with various learning objectives. Not everybody will analyze key ideas, putting them into conversation with contemporary patristic scholarship. Only those who choose the research paper option will do that particular thing. So that's what's going on there, and I hope that that's clear as you look through this syllabus and as we talk about it. We're going to take the first day, part of the first class session, and just take a look at the syllabus and see what you all notice, and answer any questions that you have, and probably catch any mistakes in it that you find that I've missed. You will be evaluated on participation. Part of that participation grade includes leading class discussion once, and there'll be a sign up for that. And I really mean the way I've laid it out here. I don't mean this to be a major presentation on each church father. I'm going to walk you through the basics of that in my lecture. What I really want is for you to direct us to the parts of the reading that were most meaningful, to the parts that were most difficult, to new connections that you made, and then questions that you wish you could ask the person who wrote the text. That will be a wonderful way for us to get into the discussion parts of our class. And we'll do that for both the primary text, so Gregory of Nyssa, and then the secondary text, Sarah Coakley writing about Gregory of Nyssa. So we'll sign up for that for the first week of the semester as well. And then I'm asking you to submit a key takeaway. And again, if you did the course with me last semester, you saw this before, but this is where I ask you just to put in a sentence or so, really just a sentence, that's all we need. What you're taking away from that, from a thing, it doesn't mean the only thing, but a thing, an important thing that rises to the surface as something that you want to remember and note as a takeaway that week. I do this for a couple of reasons. I do this so that I can check in on what you all are connecting with, what's working for you, what are the things that you're taking with you. And I also do it so that you can have a record of what you're learning. If you have an important insight in week 2 and then we come all the way to week 13, you're probably going to forget what you learned back in what felt important back in week 2. So this just gives you a way of, oh, I've written it down. Oh, look, I remember when this thing happened. I remember when I saw this, when I understood this in a new way. I'll give you a chance to just look back over what you've learned and sort of own it, recall it. And then here are the options. The one option is a research paper, classic research paper. I'm going to ask you to make a theological claim. You've probably seen this and heard this from me before, but I'm linking here the video to how I explain that. You can ask you to use 4 sources as you do that. An option is to put together an adult ed class on one of the church, a theological idea found in one of the church fathers with slides, and record yourselves teaching it. Another option is prayers of the people. For a feast day liturgy or some other appropriate liturgical celebration, compose prayers of the people with a collect, concluding collect, and then a commentary on it. There's description there, and you will see videos on Populi linked to Professor Jennings explaining how he uses this assignment, not just taking it straight from him. So we'll be doing exactly the way that he lays it out in those examples. A sermon option. And this one you'll record yourself preaching it, and so record yourself teaching it, make those connections, and then offer a commentary on it. Pause, because I was thinking that I had asked you to do this in class, but apparently I decided not to do that. I need to think about that again. And then a Eucharistic prayer is a new one for me. For a feast day liturgy or appropriate liturgical celebration, compose a prayer and then a commentary on it. And again, Professor Jennings has given us a video there to explain to us how to do that. And then here is your meeting dates, topics, class presentations. You can see how I divided up before class, during class, after class. This column here is the way you prepare. This is our list of things we're going to do in class. And then I am going, and I'll make a note of this, but after class means by 5 o'clock on Friday. So I will go ahead and note that here, so you'll have that. And you can see we're taking on one of the theologians of the classical tradition per week. Irenaeus, Origen, Athanasius, and this allows us to dig in to both primary and secondary sources. We're going to be using a lot of the John Bear. That's what I have as Bear P1, Bear Part 1, but then supplementing it with other sources, and then with the secondary or with the primary readings for each week. So we'll be reading a little bit of each of these church fathers each time. We are going to clearly there's gendered implications in this whole set of material that's called the church fathers, or the patristics. And that's something we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about that throughout, and then we'll have a session at the end where we just focus on the issues of gender that come up in the readings, and that come up in the genre, and that come up in the theological ideas that we've been working with all semester. So lots of time to talk about that. We'll be talking about the idea of a sort of dominant canonical tradition and what that means for diversity. These are not all white men that we'll be reading. The primary texts are all men. And so that's important. They are men from Africa, from the Middle East, from the Greek Empire, and sort of from the midst of the Mediterranean classical world. And then we'll be reading secondary sources that are contemporary men and women of various backgrounds, ethnicities, geographical locations. We're commenting on these texts from their own context and their locations. So all that's important, because what I want to say about that is that the sort of the primary texts are established here, and that makes this a kind of a classical tradition, as I've titled the course. But this is a classical tradition that is consistently now in new ways broadening itself by opening itself up to new voices, or new voices are finding their way into this and doing commentary on it. So we'll be reading about what it's like to be a man of color reading Origin of Alexandria, or a woman reading about the fathers, and those sorts of things. So that's how we will be sort of engaging the tradition. That's how we'll be opening it up. And each time I will give you a lecture video in which I'll give you a brief introduction. And I'm saying brief because, folks, I'm really going to try to hold myself to this. I'm not going to try to tell you everything that's cool and amazing about Irenaeus of Lyon. There's a lot that's cool and amazing. I'm going to try to keep it to 15 to 20 minutes. So I'm going to try to say, here are the basics, here's some need to knows. Now get into that text and see what you can find. That's what I'm going to try to do each time. Let's try to give you just real actual surveys in those 15 to 20 minute lectures. And then we will dig in and fill that out with detail and color in the portion of class, in the class discussions. So that's the syllabus, that's the hope, that's the dream. Can't wait to see what we discover, and I hope that you all have a really good experience with this class, and that you come away feeling like the church fathers are new companions that you have in your own faith journey and in your vocation as ministers. Thanks, y'all. Talk to you soon.